Sup Folkwax? You know, this is a story that I've wanted to tell for a while, but I just never got around to it. I realized that I had old Speedpaint lying around, so I figured I'd use that as background footage. So if you don't feel like listening to me talk about the story, you can just mute the video and watch the Speedpaint instead. Now this story happened 10 years ago, in 2014, when I was 13 years old. I was in the 7th grade, and well, middle school was a bit of a weird time for me in terms of art. You see, I had gotten the opportunity to be able to apply for an art magnet school. Now what led up to this moment? Well, let's start from the beginning. So, this all started when I was at lunch showing my friends my art. I don't remember why I was showing my friends my art, just probably to pass the time because, you know, boredom. My middle school didn't allow us to use our phones during lunch for whatever reason, so I was just showing them art because, you know, might as well do something instead of just talk. So I did, and the assistant principal of all people happened to see my art. She saw it and it was like, wow, your art's really good. What art class are you taking? Or something along those lines. And I was like, oh, I'm not taking any art classes. And she was like, oh, what? You're not taking any art classes? That's crazy. I thought you'd be in, like, you know, one of the art classes. Why aren't you taking any art classes? The reason why I wasn't taking any art classes in middle school was because I sucked at math so badly that I had to take 2 math classes. One that was a math assistance class and then a regular math class. So that way I could, you know, I guess pass middle school. I did decently in the math assistance class, but Anyway, the principal offered me the opportunity to change my classes so that way I could take an actual art class. See, I was taking band class as a way to satisfy the, like, art academic requirements, which, you know, was fine, but I guess in middle school I wasn't really a fan of being in band class because I wanted to take an art class really badly. Last time I taken art was, well, in elementary school, so, you know, I was pretty upset about that. I was definitely willing to drop band class just so I could take an art class, and in hindsight, I think it was a good thing that I didn't, for reasons that I could get into for another video. So the assistant principal tried to help me with getting into an art class, but unfortunately there weren't any, like, seats available. I think there's only, like, one art teacher as well, so that was probably why I never got into the art class, which was fine, I guess, because I did get to be in one in high school. And also the assistant principal offered me the opportunity to, well, she informed me about an art magnet school. If you don't know what a magnet school is, it's basically like a public school, but with a specialized sort of program or sort of, like, subject matter, I guess. So this school was basically an art school, but, like, public. So it wasn't like a, you know, some fancy smancy private school for, like, uppity snobby kids or something like that. It was it was like a public school. So I was like, whoa, I want to go there. And so I told my parents, and that began the entire process of applying and all that wonderful stuff. And this is where things get interesting. So one of the first things we had to do was go to, like, some sort of orientation tour of the school. I think everything gets a little fuzzy here, but I remember it was evening time and it was just me and my mom. We had gone there and we basically got a tour of the school. It was pretty nice, very large school. A lot of art all over the place, and I was already starting to get a certain vibe about what the school was like, and I was just feeling I wasn't feeling good. See, in middle school, I was a huge weeb, so all the stuff I drew was just anime related. I didn't draw, like, you know, realism or any of that traditional art stuff. I was just drawing anime stuff because that's what I liked. I didn't really care about anything else, because that was, you know, that was my priority. I did want to pursue art as a career, but, you know, I just never practiced enough to actually, you know, like, go out my comfort zone, which kind of sucked, but I did improve over time, which was good. But anyway, being that school and seeing all the art made me feel a bit of imposter syndrome, because I was like, man, I don't think I'm gonna get into this school. Everyone here draws, like, realism and stuff, and they draw all these really cool pictures, and I'm just over here with my anime. I was like, I didn't want to go here, but I still did at the same time, because I was just like, I wanted to, you know, be a real artist. So I still persisted, and I continued going through the school tour, and this is where things kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't go to this school, because I feel like my style probably would have been discouraged. So we were in the school store, I think, and I guess one of the, I don't know, tour people, who was probably a teacher, was telling us some stuff about, like, requirements for like requirements for what we need to include in our portfolio. And one of the things she mentioned was, and I think my mom, who knew I was a huge weeb at the time, decided to ask the embarrassing question of, is anime allowed on the portfolio? And the lady said, no, anime is not allowed. But the reason why she said it wasn't allowed was for the stupidest reason imaginable. She said anime is not allowed because it is a shared art style.
Huh? Huh? Huh?
What? What does that even mean? What does a shared art style even mean? Like, genuinely, I still to this day do not get that, and I think it's the dumbest thing ever, and that was partially why I was like, I don't want to be at the school, because if that's what your attitude is towards anime, then I don't want to be here. But like I said, I wanted to persist because I was like, I wanted to be a real artist, and I thought being at the school would be like the most beneficial thing ever for my career, but I didn't get in. Anyway, that really rubbed me the wrong way for like the entire night, and it just kind of put me in a bad mood, because as someone who was a huge anime nerd at the time, hearing that just kind of hurt, because I was like, oh, okay, anime's not good, alright. And keep in mind, 10 years ago, like, art YouTube was completely different, and on art YouTube, there was a lot of videos about people who just seemed to have the same art teacher, where they all just hated anime, and they were just like, fuck anime, go away, we don't like anime, get these weebs out of here, we want realism, we want realism, we don't want that anime shit, get out of here. So, yeah, I feel like that was the attitude around the time. Anime was popular back then, but I feel like it's gotten more acceptable nowadays, because in my art classes now, I've seen a lot of classmates with very anime-influenced styles, and the professors don't have a problem with it. So it's definitely gotten a lot more acceptance. And also on the portfolio requirement sheet or whatever, I don't have it anymore, obviously, so I don't remember much. I do recall that it did say no anime, but it also said no cartoons and no fantasy, quote unquote. So basically, they did not want any of like super imaginative or like fun stuff. They just wanted realism, like life studies and all that. And like I said, I was not good at doing that, so I had to essentially, like, for the next, I don't know, I think I had to get all this done in, like, within a few months. I had to get all that done within a few months, and I had never drawn anything like that before. And it sucked because, well, I had no experience. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I mean, I guess for like someone who's never done something like that before, it's pretty good. But yeah, I had to like really scramble to get stuff done. My mom even bought me like those fancy art pencils, like the ones that are like that come in different sizes and all that, like every art student uses in like their foundational classes. I had to use those. I got a bunch of like new art supplies. I was like, I'm ready to be an art student, but again, didn't get in. So as I was scrambling to get things done, the imposter syndrome was kind of settling in a bit more, but I was also like excited because I really wanted to be in the school. I do remember they also made us do a bunch of other things, like, for example, I had to go to a museum and I had to redraw some sort of painting or something like that. So I did some abstract thing, and then after that, I had to draw something like on a grid. I don't remember. This was another thing that, actually, I'm going to get to it later, but I don't remember because I don't have the picture anymore. But, yeah, like, I don't know, it was just a lot of, like, exercises and drawing certain things. And then they also made us come in person to the school, and I had to sit there for like an hour and had to do a still life. That was really boring and I didn't like it. But keep in mind though, this is middle school. I had never done like any of this art students type stuff. So that was the first time I'd ever done a still life, and I hated it because I had to sit there for like an hour drawing, and I didn't like that because I thought it was boring. Well, as an art student, I had to get used to that a lot because studio classes are very long. 4 hours, sometimes even longer if you go like one of those uppity art schools. I think my thing once I had to go to one where it was like 8 hours. Now obviously it wasn't like straight through, but still 8 hours, that's a long time to be drawing. But yeah, so after all that work, I submitted everything and I was like, I'm ready to get this going. And my friends were rooting for me. They were like, yeah, you're gonna get into this art school. I was like, yeah, I definitely am. So I waited and I got my results back. I was not accepted into the art school, and I was devastated because I was so high. Everyone was hyping me up. I was like, guys, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get in, but I didn't. I don't think they ever explained why, or maybe they did and I just forgot. but I'm going to just assume that my art style and just general skills were not up to par with the school standards, and thus I was not allowed into the school because, well, I guess I wasn't good enough, which really hurt my, self-esteem at the time, because I was really, even though the middle school art sucks, I was still pretty confident when I was younger. So hearing that and getting that sort of rejection at that age was a real blow to my self-esteem, and I just was really upset for a while. I was so disappointed. Now, when I mentioned earlier about the whole grid picture thing or whatever, I want to go back to that. You see, the school never returned me some of those pictures. They never gave me back one thing that I really am mad about. I made a self-portrait, right? And this self-portrait, I was actually pretty proud of how it came out. It's not good, but like, for middle school me who's never drawn realism up until that point, who's just do nothing but anime, I would say it's pretty decent, and it's gone. It's gone for good. Like, they literally took it and they never returned it. Like, the audacity, Imagine rejecting somebody and then not giving their, like, stuff that they applied for back. That's, like, petty, So I'm glad I never went to that school because, well, for one thing, high school kind of sucked for a lot of reasons because that friend group I mentioned, but it also, there was some things where I was like, okay, I kind of feel like I didn't miss out too much, and I did get a better opportunity in high school for art, where I got to do a pre-college thing, which could be in its own video, where, if you don't know what pre-college is, it's basically literally just pre-college, as in you get to accept it into like a college program for whatever major you're doing, and mine is obviously art, and you stay at that college, I guess, or you, commute for like a short period of time as like a way to experience what college life would be like. And yeah, and that was a pretty interesting experience because that actually gave me more of insight into like being an art student in college rather than whatever that other school was. And also in college I had encountered some classmates who had been to that school, and they were like really stressed out about it, and they felt like they had to work a lot, and they didn't really get to explore their styles too much because they were focusing so much on realism. So yeah, bullet dodged, I guess. That's the one thing about some art schools I don't like, is that they really love realism. They will not shut the ever-loving fuck up about realism. They're always going to be talking about all these traditional classical art type shit. They will literally just do nothing but talk about the Renaissance and blah 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 and all that. And God forbid you have anything that's like cartoon or anime or fantasy, quote unquote, which, some people might have like more hyper-realistic fantasy, but I guess again that's not allowed. And I don't like that. I get that in art school you kind of have to draw like realism as like a foundational thing, but once you get past those classes and you're still not allowed to explore your style, what's the point? You're not like, why do some art teachers want art students to literally just be the same cookie cutter artist? Not all art has to be realism. I think the mindset has definitely, like, people have grown out that mindset, but it still is there with some people, because I've definitely heard stories of artists who've been told, oh yeah, your art's not good because it's digital, or oh, your art's not real because you aren't using this medium, or blah 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 blah. And I don't know why so many art teachers like that. Like, how are you going to be an art student and learn about all this art history and only just hype up like the same cookie cutter ideas and styles and all that? It gets boring after a while too. I know I'm talking a lot about this. It's mostly a tangent because, like I said, I had never been to the school. I don't know, maybe the school wasn't too bad because the reviews for the school seemed pretty positive. I don't think I saw anything negative on there. Everyone seemed really happy about being at that school, so maybe I'm just an outlier. Maybe it was really bad and no one put a review for it. But I don't know. I never know. Am I glad they didn't get to go to the school? Yeah. But I'm also sad a little bit. Because, again, I wonder what my art could have been like if I had gotten the opportunity to, like, learn more foundational stuff earlier on. Because as an adult, I had to kind of relearn a bit of anatomy stuff, and it was kind of a pain in the ass. But, it happens, I guess. So, yeah, that was my experience trying to apply for an art school. It was definitely a weird experience. But I think the main things that I've learned were that, one, rejection sucks, but it happens, and, you just kind of have to take it as is. It's not a personal attack against you, because I'm sure other people got rejected. And again, I already knew why I got rejected. It wasn't like I mean, I already knew, like, even back then I kind of figured my art style was anime, and I wasn't really adequate for that sort of skill level yet because I didn't draw like that. So I could have applied probably if I was a bit, maybe if I had better skills or if I had done that a bit earlier, but you know, again, I don't really regret it too much. I've seen it more as a learning experience. And also, don't take this video as me discouraging art school. Not all art schools are like uppity and snobby and only push realism. I feel like that might be a bit of a stereotype. I think art school's a bit more, you know, open-minded nowadays, but I think maybe that's just how things were, you know, obviously that was 10 years ago. Things are way different now. And like I said, back on YouTube, every artist under the sun was always talking about how they had some terrible art teacher that just hated anime for whatever reason. So yeah, I feel like now that art teachers nowadays are like either in their 40s or they're a bit younger, like in their 30s, who grew up on like more, you know, mainstream-ish anime or like, you know, older popular anime like Dragon Ball. You know, they're more likely to understand anime rather than people who grew up in like the, I don't know, 70s or something like that. So, again, it's probably a generational thing. So if you do want to apply to art school, just do it. And if you get rejected, don't take it to heart. Just know other people get rejected. And just, you know, if you really want to get into that school, just improve on your skills. And who knows, you might get into that school. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this silly story. And I'll see you quacks later.